Good evening. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. What do you make of the ANC decision not to ask Ace Magashule to step down, even though the president has said quite clearly in recent weeks that those accused of serious crimes, whether in the party or in government, should step aside?
I think it was not unexpected. It's one thing to work out a principle, but it's another to implement it. If you look at the fact that it was the same ANC that in the same week it took a decision on that step aside, was also reinstating the guys from the Vembe and Limpopo area with regard to the issue of VBS, and then later speaking about, well, we must ask for a legal advice on how to deal with people to step aside. It was inevitable that even if when you come to Magashule, they will still say, well, we are still looking at what to do in terms of that situation. So I think they have got a principle, but they're not sure how to implement it. They're looking at optics in which all of us would be happy with, but in reality, they're not in a position to pull it off.
So is it a sign that the party is divided on this issue, or is it a sign that the party is actually not that serious about corruption, but rather just the optics of being seen to be saying and doing the right thing?
I think that the main part of the party is serious about dealing with issues of corruption, but it really depends what for you is corruption. So there will be some who will say, yes, we must deal with corruption, but let's start with dealing with what the president said about his son, as well as when others saying, no, that doesn't mean anything. Let's look at what Magashule is saying, and that for me, everybody is serious, but they're just not sure how to move forward.
You've written in a News 24 article today that Ace Magashule holds all the aces. Tell us why you think that.
Well, you know, I'm using the metaphor from James Headley Chase of I hold all the four aces, or the joker in the pack. What I really mean is that because the ANC had itself decided that it want to look at what step aside means, because they are not sure in dealing with those people, and secondly, because someone like Magashule has been returned back as deputy chairperson in the KwaZulu-Natal area, it therefore means that our expectations as the public is not in line with what the ANC thinks it wants to do. The ANC will always want to balance not what the public interest is, but what is in the interest of the unification of the ANC, which, as you know, is not always the same as our own interest.
You know, the Secretary General of a political party is kind of a heart. That position keeps the party running, pulls everything together. What does this mean for the ANC and the running of the ANC? You know, just looking at that media briefing yesterday with two members of the top six talking about why they weren't going to ask Ace Magashule to step down. Do you think that there's the party is a little at sea at the moment?
I don't think the party is at sea. I think the party is alive to the fact that it must move with the wishes of the people that says we abhor the whole issue of corruption, but must also look at how does it unite the party in that even it's not as strong as some of us make it out to be, but he is still strong, and that any action you take against him must be in line with the constitution of the ANC, as well as the broader constitution of the country. So I was always expecting that if we work on the basis that the ANC was not able to deal with Zuma, the then deputy president's issues, kept him, even as he was charged when he was deputy president of the ANC, there's no way in which they could suddenly act against Magashule, because his supporters and himself are going to say, but you allowed Zuma to continue while you now turning us away. It must mean that is therefore what they call white monopoly capitalism against radical economic transformation.
Here's my question. Does it matter? Does it matter to the average ANC supporter? Because, you know, we've just held by-elections and we've seen that the ANC has actually held its ground, by and large, in a number of wards. So this is despite service delivery problems, despite corruption allegations. Does it matter to the average voter?
I think it does matter to the average ANC voter. It may be too soon before the voting election. It only matters, on the other hand, though, as what opposition is able to offer. Well, the opposition only said we can do better than the ANC, but without looking at what the real alternative proposal they are paying forward. Elections will always not be the correct measure. What we need to look is internally inside the ANC. What is the view of the broader ANC? And you'll find that there it is split with many, or rather a group thinking he must step down, another one saying, well, this is just a ploy. And I think tomorrow will be no different to see a number of people who will be there supporting ACE and another group which is opposed to ACE out there at Bloemfontein.
Thank you so much for coming through to us this evening. And Mbazima Shilowa is a former Gauteng Premier and, of course, a former COSATU General Secretary.